I love Von Trier. I love, for me, his movies. I love that. And I'm speaking about my favorites of his movies, which are, Breaking the Waves and Melancholia and Dancer in the Dark. But for me, his movies are kind of corollary to the kinds of movies that they used to give to Joan Crawford and so forth back in the 40s, where she was, Mildred Pierce, and she's getting shit on from left and right, and she had to find a way to get
like
above
melodramas?
it and so forth. Yeah,
like kitchen sink melodramas.
But a female, I remember coming out of Dancer in the Dark, and a friend of mine came out of it, and he said, I hated it. And I said, why? It was great. And he said, well, I just think it's so cruel to women. And I said, what? Okay, first of all, you're just not used to having women in meaty roles like this because we don't live in that world anymore, where in the 40s and the 50s and in the 30s and the 20s there were tons of roles for women, and they weren't just housewives and adjuncts to males, but they were people living very dramatic lives on their own and were faced with very dramatic choices that they had to make.
Right.
And this is just sort of a throwback to those kind of movies. And they seem very foreign now.
That's very interesting. That's very interesting how people would watch Dancer in the Dark and say it's cruel to women, and they won't watch something like, I don't know, pick any movie, pick a Mel Gibson in Payback or Adrian Brody in The Piano or something, and say that movie was really cruel to
men.
yeah.
Because it's expected.
That's a good point.
That's because men are by and large the protagonists of almost every movie that we see.
Yeah.
And in movies, drama is king. Drama is the reason to make movies. So of course that are going to happen to men, so no one ever says that. But when a woman is a lead in a film that has drama in it, it's cruel to women or whatever. Women have difficult lives too, and the only reason that we don't get into that is because we're in an age where we don't see a lot of female-driven stories, and that's got to change. And the only way to really change that, I believe, is to get more female directors in the driving seat. Not only for little independent movies, but for big
I think it's deeper. I think it's deeper than that, because I think if a woman made some of these male-driven movies where they had episodes of torture and they went through all this stuff, it's very possible that people will say that movie is cruel to men. I think it's just an example of sexism.
Right.
Yeah.
Clearly, this director had an agenda against men that she was working out. Something like that.
Can you name one? And that's an interesting thing that you bring up. Well, can you name one movie that is cruel to men? I mean, would you say that Reservoir Dogs is cruel to men?
What,
to years,
you just wouldn't say that because in movies, men are often in cruel jobs. They're cops or they're robbers or they're con men or they're in a wartime situation or something that cruelty is just part of their world, part of their job.
However, that's what makes Kill Bill interesting, because she's seen as a big hero because she's empowered and she is kind of merciless, like you would equate with a male protagonist. But at the same time, Tarantino does show her sensitivity of motherhood. That maternal side. So that's a great female character. Defined by that.
But that's kind of like a throwback to what I say as a kind of a progenitor of that is Aliens, with Sigourney Weaver, where
exactly.
it's the same kind of thing. I mean, she's sort of like the original. She's the original ass kicker, in movies.
Right.
And then they do have to bring in the motherhood aspect in order to show that other side and everything. But women aren't just mothers and sisters and daughters and that kind of thing. Fuck, we don't even get to see a lot of sisters in movies or whatever, But so I mean, it's funny, when you're talking about empowering females, a lot of the time in movies, what happens is that the filmmakers merely write a role for the female that actually is just really a male role, but they just cast a female in it, and that's it. I mean, that might be a sexist way of looking at it, but when you see a pattern that's going where they're ass kicking and everything, but the only thing that really humanizes them is their ability to bear a child. Then you start to see that, and you start to see a strange corollary or whatever there. So
I don't know. I doubt that that's Tarantino's objective, but I do think that he genuinely thinks it's foxy to have a woman kick ass. But Jackie Brown is an incredibly strong character, and you don't cast Pam Grier in anything.
That's a great character. That
is
Jackie
a great
Brown,
character. Yeah,
that's a great female character. Where it has that's what makes that one of his best movies, because it has that nuance to it. That's where she's not. It's not dependent on her being a mother or a lover or whatever. It's dependent totally on that character and everything. And yes, she's an ass kicker and totally has control of a lot of things, but it also shows her totally out of control and out of any kind of control and so forth. So,